All right, instead of my usual topics, I'm going to take the time to acknowledge something that has meant a lot to me for a long time. Yesterday on Team 4 Star's channel, they put up a video called DBZA is over, here's why. And they explained their reason for canceling Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And there were a number of people in the comments section writing all kind of weird stuff. But when I saw the notification, my heart basically stopped because I can, vividly remember at the end of episode 60, they had the teaser for season 4. But after listening to the reasons they gave and reading the Patreon post that they had, it makes a lot of sense based off of what I've seen as someone that has been a viewer of their content for a while. So I'm going to try to give a little flashback and sort of go chronologically in order of my beginnings with watching their content. The year was 2008. I was 10 years old. And it's around, I think, July. And I only can say the month because you can go on their channel and look it up. But when I first go on Team 4 Star's channel, they have 2 episodes. They have episode 1, episode 2. And they have a video called episode 2 where it's Vegeta throwing episode 2 into the abyss or blowing it up or whatever. And Kaiser Neko saying, we're working on it, whatever. But I remember seeing episode 2 before the first one. I thought it was really funny. I was very amused. And back at that time, they used to put out 1 episode a month. As their editing proficiency increased, they took their time with stuff, whatever. But, that was the initial year of me watching their content. And that, I should also say that the first instance of there being, like, me remembering a distinctive gap because, they were putting one out every month, but I didn't really, those are just the kind of things you don't pay attention to when you're, I guess, younger or whatever. The first episode where I noticed there was a gap was episode 10, which is the Punchline 3-parter. And I watched that thing like crazy when it came out. I remember I used to sit in my little bed, watching on my computer. And that went on for maybe, because I was in 5th grade when it came out, or at least, 2009. So that was how old I was. And about maybe 2-3 months after that episode came out, their channel gets taken down. And they're gone for, I think it was I remember it being a while, to where people were actually uploading. I saw this one person who uploaded the episodes from season 1, which again was the only season when their channel was removed, as far as I know, the first time. And they said in the description box, man, Team 4 Star was the best at the business, and they got taken out by Toei. And I was just sitting there like, we're never going to get any more episodes because of this stupid company that doesn't even know what a parody is. Like, they have none of them at that company have cracked open a dictionary and reviewed the what constitutes a copyright violation, how parody falls under fair use. So I was in agreement with that person that re-uploaded it. But around maybe the early part of 2010, that's when they came back and they did the first episode of season 2, which is episode 11. And that's when their uploading status became, I don't want to say much worse, but less frequent. Because again, the editing improved and you have to get people to record stuff in their lines and whatnot. And I remember just going on their channel and waiting every, I guess, couple of weeks or whatever for a new episode and just liking it. I think the for probably the next, because they finished season 2 when I was in 8th grade, because that's when episode 30 came out, which is the Frieza arc conclusion. I was really shocked they were able to turn the entire Super Saiyan Goku versus Frieza fight into 1 episode. That was pretty crazy, especially when you know that the source material had. I mean, I remember there was this one guy that used to upload full anime fights on YouTube before he got taken down. That fight was like 4 hours long. It was really ridiculous. I think 26 episodes, some numbering system like that. But the point is, they really condensed it. They did the same thing actually with another episode. I think it was 24, 25, whichever one it is where Piccolo shows up and fights second form Frieza. Like that was I think 8 episodes long, and they turned it into one. And it's kind of funny because if you go on TV tropes, they actually mention how what I believe is episode 47, 45, how they basically only adapted or abridged one episode of the whole show. It was just funny because that was like so much slower than their usual pace that person brought that up, or whoever wrote that brought that up. Because I didn't notice it. I didn't like I don't sit there and just think of like when it's really obvious, such as with those large, enormous fights. That's when I can tell. But when it's not, it takes someone else coming out and saying something. So season 3 started when I was in ninth grade, and it was probably the period where I most rewatched the show, like between 2013 and probably 2015. That was when I would just go back and watch the whole thing. And I still, occasionally will come and go back and see it, but that was when I was most into it. Uh, I remember I had this one relative that I would like use lines from the show with, and it was pretty fun. And what's crazy is I never really noticed that they were doing the movies up until probably halfway through season 3, because I was like, when did they do Tree of Might? When did they do these different films? And we're actually going to get to one of the films later, but there's another point where their channel doesn't go down, but all the episodes get taken off, and that's when they start uploading them on their website. And I remember when me and this one person would go to their website every couple of days and just go and check out if they had, because they would have a little thing that said, next episode in progress at 8%, 30%. So we just keep refreshing after a couple of days to go see if it was any different. Because I remember 2014, we only had I think 5 episodes. It was really so I don't want to say crazy, because again I understand that people have to. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making one of those. But I was somewhat surprised given the slowing down, I guess, like to where it actually became a joke of I can't wait for the next episode in 8 months or something like that. There's actually this cartoon that I used to watch, which a lot of people do watch still, Young Justice, where it was like that too. It was a Cartoon Network show that had enormous hiatuses, except that was unforgivable because they actually got paid to do that. But yeah, around the time season 3 was about midway through, that's when I started watching their gaming channel, because for the Christmas of, I believe 2015, they did the Legacy of Goku where they played through the whole game. And I remember they had 2 different jokes I really liked. One of them being the portraits that are in that old game, where they said that that one of the guys looked like a snake in the picture, and he was just like disguising himself as a human with his mustache. And then they had another where at the end of the game, because the Frieza fight in that game is, I think, just insane to attempt without cheating. There's a cheat in Legacy of Goku where if you get shot while you're flying, then you have immunity. The enemy won't hit you or can't hit you. So that's how I got through that game. It was really I just got tired of having to hit something 80 times and dodge them, and it was an ambitious game, but a little too ahead of its time. So they had this thing where they would say punch, run every time they would hit Frieza, and then Frieza hit them while they were trying to hit him, and one of them blurted out, "He got the punch." So that was it was fun because for the next 2 Christmases they would do the sequels for that game. So Legacy of Goku 2 for 2016, Legacy of Goku Boost Fury for 2017, which are both better games in my opinion. Uh, but yeah, when we got to the last maybe 3 episodes of season 3, it was that gap was crazy, and it's really funny too because I don't think there was ever a gap like since the start of this a gap that was as long as the one between 59 and 60. Of course, I'm not going to get upset because it was an hour-long episode, but that I was like, wow, this is still going on. I forgot almost because I just kind of said, all right, well, I'm sure we'll get that episode maybe 4 or 5 months, and then a whole year passed. Something like that happened too with when they did the Legacy of was it Legacy of Trunks special, where they said it was coming out in February or some other month, and then it didn't come out for another month or 2 months because somebody got sick or something like that. And I remember when the trailer for that dropped, they had to come out and say, "This is not serious. This is going to be just like the episodes where it's it's comedy. It's not a actual attempt at being, what do you call it, serious. I know I'm being a little redundant there, but I want to mention that when they were it was Christmas 2015 is when I started my show, and that was the first episode they put out is the one where, which one is that? I think 50 or 51. It's the one where it ends with Perfect Cell doing the song and how he's waited for so long and whatnot. And I have to say, when I started making my own show, it became basically I started to kind of give them a lot more credit, and this is why I've said that a lot of times people who don't make anything don't understand the things that go on behind the scenes, which is why I used to like. They had these episode breakdowns that Kaiser Neko would do, where he would tell you about like, oh, this we were planning on doing this, but we scrapped that, and I had to go and grab this picture, and it was a really nice little explanation system because it told you and basically took you behind the scenes and said, we planned on doing this, we changed our mind, I was intending to do that. I like that kind of stuff because it's basically giving you a peek under the hood, pretty much. You know, when they just tell you how something's done. Those were really good, and I hate that he canceled them. So when I decided to when I was doing my own show, I was really shocked by the number of months that it took to go and go through there and get it done. Where like you would have to sit here and talk to a bunch of voice actors, and sometimes you would have stuff going on, and it just when that happened, I related a lot more to their struggle, and it made me a lot more patient with their content because I understood at that point after being someone that continuously was trying to make stuff. And I remember I actually had based the episode count for my own thing off of theirs, where I had basically said, you know, season one's going to be this number of episodes. It was going to be 10, then I said I'm going to make it 13 because that's more standard for American stuff. Then I said, oh, season two is going to be uh, going to end at episode 30, and then season three is going to end at 60. So they in little subtle ways, their stuff influenced mine. But when they were talking about the decision to, I guess, stop using traditional footage and instead use the art style for the shorts that they were making and how much it would cost. That's one of the things that because I used to say, oh, it doesn't make sense that they take longer than me because you know they don't have to draw a bunch of stuff out. But I realized when you're trying to write something and you're constrained by the previously done animation, it does stifle your ability to make things in a timely manner because you have to work with your restraints. It's like those old comics from the 60s and 70s that people would draw out before they actually wrote them. So you would have some guy sit on the toilet and draw like 20 or 40 pages, and then you'd have somebody else go through it and put dialogue. That's that reminds me of just like they have the animation in front of them, but they can't come up with it. And I guess what was so shocking about their decision to not do Broly is that not Broly, BoJack, is that I didn't think they would do Broly, and they did it, and I thought it was very amusing. So I guess it's kind of this when you hold someone's writing talents in high regard because you see them year after year turn scenarios or situations into things that you didn't think would be as funny as they ended up being. It's a lot harder to basically reconcile with the fact that they're saying, "Hey, we can't do this. We've tried. It's burnt us out." And because I've seen them do it with other stuff, it makes me a lot more believe in. I guess it makes their saying that they can't do it a lot more believable. Like, wow, they really sat there and just kept trying to appease these fans and just. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff people are writing in their comment section, it is pretty crazy. You had somebody who was like, "This has to be some kind of joke, right?" Like, do you need do you need them to come out and basically take the scripts for season four? Which I doubt that they actually wrote a season four out, but do they need them to take the scripts for season four and just burn them on camera for them to get that it's over? So I said a lot of times people are just so frustrating with the content creators. Like they really. I mean, we've already seen it with the real Dragon Ball, where you have the, Toriyama and all these voice actors hitting 60, 70, and 80, and people are still trying to harass them to get another show. And I was like, why do you think they're only continuing the manga? Because they don't have to have these I'm just gonna say it, old people stressing their voices out anymore. And somebody, could make the argument hire a different voice actor, but Japan isn't like the U.S. If we lose a voice actor, unless it's The Simpsons or Family Guy, one of those shows, usually we get somebody else. Japan, on the other hand, they're very much sticking to their belief that you keep one person for the whole thing. And I do get that to some extent, but it does cause a lot of problems, particularly when you mention the fact that uh, there are instances like the Yo Son Goku and Friends Return special, where because Tien's voice actor died, he wasn't in that special. So he's one of the few major characters that's not in that because of his voice actor being deceased. So those are the kind of things that happen when you basically stick to one person. You even had people who were saying that they canceled Super because Bulma's voice actor died, which I don't believe, but you get the idea that there's in Japan a VA carries a lot more weight than the U.S. But yeah, Abridged was a really like I try to explain to people if you go back to when that started in 2008, it was a different time to be a fan of Dragon Ball. We didn't have Super, we didn't have Battle of Gods, Resurrect, none of that stuff. The closest new cartoon thing we had was Yo Son Goku and Friends Return, and that was understood to just be this one-off little special that was supposed to be about nostalgia versus actually trying to make a new show or anything. So it was really, other than TFS, the only thing we got new was that special and the games. It was just the games, the specials, the fan fictions, all that stuff. Um, and that's why as they were making it to see Dragon Ball come back, and I remember the first episode after that they made when Super got announced back in, I think it was March of 2015, was the Piccolo versus Android 17 fight. And I guess it's even more ironic when you consider that uh, 17 ended up getting a big huge role in that last arc of that show. Just by like pure coincidence, they were doing their own version of that fight at the time. Yeah, they're a really talented group of people, and I do kind of get a little disappointed that there are those who only show up for DBZ Abridged, because I really enjoyed their gaming videos. I watched their Budokai Tenkaichi 3 playthrough, all the Legacy of Goku playthroughs, their fighters playthrough. Because they're an entertaining group of people that actually enjoy the stuff that they're doing, and it's really sad to I guess to see creators kind of just sort of get pushed back over, because like you can listen to that video and you can see the updates that they gave and tell they were trying to make the fourth season, but it just wouldn't work. And I do understand the part about burnout, because when I was doing the newest episode of my show, and I had to sit here at month after month waiting for voice actor after voice actor to turn their thing in, I really started to kind of be annoyed with the project altogether. And when Kaiser Neko said in the video, uh, doing something and then hating it because of just the stress it puts on you, or the lack of enthusiasm that you get from progressively feeling a certain way about it, is terrifying. I agree with that, because I felt that with stuff I've made. So it was a really sad thing to see. Yeah. God, it's nice to think about the how far they've come with the show, and I really don't blame them for wanting to do something original, because, as I mentioned before, their channel was taken down at least once, and they also had all of their episodes deleted by Toei, or with Toei's involvement. So when in the Patreon post, Kaiser said, "Oh, this show, even though we love doing it, it does put our channel at risk." They're telling the truth. But again, those are the kind of long-term things that a lot of supporters and fans and people that like their stuff are not going to consider, because they got to make sure they have their new content. I simply related that story of how their channel went down one time before because it happened. I think a lot of people have not been around as long. I even saw one person said they just got onto Abridged with episode 60, and I was like, wow. But I mentioned their channel going down at one time, and then all the episodes getting removed because I'm trying to explain that you can, if you followed them long enough, or if you know what happened to them year after year, you can at least get some kind of idea. Like a lot of the stuff that they stated either in that video or on that post on Patreon hold weight because you've seen it happen to them. And someone who just joined last year or the year before might not get it. I mean, for example, if you start watching them in 2015, you might think it was normal for them to just want to put their episodes up on their website and basically say, screw YouTube. But it wasn't. It was something that they were forced to do because Toei kept screwing with them because no one at Toei knows what a parody is. So they ended up, changing direction. Yeah, it's a really sad thing. There's a lot of people who just don't want to accept reality. Like, I'm looking at this comment section right now. You have someone who's saying, this is a joke, right? It's like, what's wrong with people, man? Like, they just. I did a stream yesterday. We were talking about the weird comments that people like to write and how crazy they get with some of the stuff they're typing. I'll say that I think that I do like with me, I know when people were talking about the Boo arc should be done the way that the other arcs were. The thing is, if you're a writer or or a fan of something, you can still have disagreements with portions of the story, and if they're able to actually change those based off of what they want to do, or rather what they want to write, it would be a lot easier than just, oh, we must stick to the script because the fans demand that we keep it 2D. So it's just a thing of you have to like pick and choose your poison. Like you can either have a show that doesn't look like it did before but allows you to have more creative freedom that costs a bunch to make, or you can have one that looks the same as before but you have to basically continue to restrain your writing with what has been positioned. And I don't bemoan them for not wanting to do something because it really is a no-win situation when you couple that with them wanting to do original stuff and having a script that they just were not satisfied with. If I was writing something and usually if I don't do something, it's because I just don't find the time to do it, or it's what do you call it? Like it's never with me. It's never any long term thing I want to do. I've never looked at the script and said I don't like this, because when I do, I don't do it. So when they saw the script, they said they don't like this. They said they're not doing it. People got pissed, but it's like, at what point does someone who makes something have the right to say, I'm not satisfied with the way this turned out? Like when Toriyama came out and said that Evolution sucked or that they didn't listen to his advice, people didn't get mad at him and say, but that's based off of your property. You're the creator. You could have told them what to do. They accepted what he said and looked forward to whatever else he was doing relating to Dragon Ball. But with these guys, it's like they come out and say we're not doing this not because we hate you or we're sick of this or anything, but we're burnt out, and it's going to cost too much to do this in a different manner than the way we've done it for the past. There are people in like, look at all the downvotes in that damn video and tell me that fans are these rational, nice people. That's why I even tried to explain to someone in the comment section the problem with social media, and especially with places like YouTube, Twitter, whatever, is that we start to basically dehumanize the people that run a particular channel, have a particular page, to where unless they're doing something that we're thoroughly entertained by or that we really, really like, we basically, couldn't care less about them. And, I tried to explain that when an actor gets sick, people go out and say, I hope they get better, all that stuff. But when a writer says, I'm in school, so I can't make this show all the time anymore, or I just don't feel like doing this anymore because of reasons X, Y, and Z, we tell them to basically go piss off. A segment of us do, not all of them, because they did have, I will admit, more support than people saying nasty stuff. But the point is that there still is a large segment who are sitting here crapping on themselves after a group of guys entertained them for 12 years. I mean, like, I want you to really think about this. They have been doing this show every single year for three presidential terms, basically. And these people are mad. Like, when I read that headline, the title of that video, when I got the notification, I got annoyed at first. I watched it, calmed down, and I was satisfied with what I got. And it doesn't mean I don't want them to do the boo arc, or I'm glad they're not doing it because I don't like it. It means that I'm adult enough to realize that these are actual people making this and that they want to move on or they want to do something else. Hell, I don't even, you know what? I don't think the original Dragon Ball manga run was as long as, or maybe it was around the same length of, let's see, came out in 84, ended in, what was that, 95, 96. GT ended in 96 or 97. GT started in 96, rather. So they've basically been doing Abridged Z for as long as Toriyama was making the manga on a weekly basis. Like, doing anything for 12 years can burn someone out. But again, because people they want to, I guess, like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with when you make something. Like, even if I didn't make my show, I do make videos, editing, streams, all that, and I get burnt out after a while sometimes. Um, so I do understand what it's like to basically just say I've had enough. I'm good. I'd rather not. But it's not them doing that and then saying everybody go screw yourselves. These are people who still want to make more content and still want to be entertaining in a variety of ways. And you can look at the demeanor. And there's actually someone made a joke that it was two dads telling their child that they're getting a divorce because the dark lighting and the like expressions they had. But you can tell that they genuinely did not want it to come to this. That there was a variety of factors, um, and that people have to move on at some point. There's actually someone in the comment section that said something I really like, where they were like, "Okay, you go make your own show or your own version of this and see how." And that it was funny because it's like that most people aren't going to try to make their own abridged version of anything, much less even get on here and actually talk about it like I'm doing it. I don't even consider this to be some big thing, but there's like this feeling of anonymity, and when you write stuff, you just feel so much more powerful, and they're exacting that in the comment section. How many comments does this have? 36,000 comments. Wow. Personally, I think it would be very nice to see, and I've actually discussed this before, of how when they do a bridge, they get a whole bunch of views, millions of views, but then when they do other stuff, they get lesser views. And I think that's really a shame, because I see a lot of value in the other stuff that they do, because they could have easily just done a bridge and that would have been it. But they chose to expand their horizon by playing games, by making the shorts. And it's just, I can't look at people who could be that productive and that entertaining while doing those things and be angry or disillusioned just because they chose to not continue one of the admittedly the thing that got me interested in them as content creators. And I usually don't speak about other channels, at least unless they're of the same variety as mine, on certainly in a video capacity. But I'm not a douchebag, so I'm not gonna shame someone for doing something when I can totally understand their reasons for wanting to try something different or act a different way, or just to not be in the same repetitive cycle of, you make the content, it comes out, people like it, and while you're making it, you get burnt out, and then people ask, when's the next one? You try to make the next one, you get burnt out. It comes out, people like it, when's the next one? Like that, fans don't realize when you have people who are working on something and they do it over and over again, even if it appears like it's the same thing, internally for that person, there's like a disgust kind of factor That's why we even had a joke that the reason in the Boo arc that all the characters die is because Toriyama basically got sick of Dragon Ball and was like, I'm just gonna kill everybody off. But you get the point that there's like you can almost see it in a sense with the way that people portray themselves, and especially in the social media era, where anybody can go on here if they're a creator and just say I'm sick of this and justify it. So look, I was always expecting. I thought they were going to do the entire series. I thought they were going to do the entire series and then do the original. So Dragon Ball, like go back and then do that as well, but they didn't. And I'm not upset with them for not wanting to spend 20 or 30 years making content that's going to either get their channel removed and really just I don't think someone should have to make something if it's disrespected, because Toei has disrespected them as creators repeatedly, and I just don't see, if they don't feel it's worth being disrespected and screwed with online by the company that owns the rights to the animation. I would just say screw it as well, especially if you're just feeling a progressive burnout from doing it for so damn long. Take a break. Hell, quit. You got other stuff you can do, as they mentioned there. So I have nothing but respect for them as content creators. I don't like that all these people are losing their minds over this being over. Nothing lasts forever. But guess what? You have the option to go back and watch all 3 seasons of it whenever you want, at any time you want, and relive the experience of enjoying their content along with the new stuff that's coming out. That's literally what we did. And again, just to close this out, Dragon Ball was over for 20 years, for rather 18 years, excuse me. So, but that between the ending of GT and when Super started. So, people have waited longer. You're literally getting a abridged version of what we got in that time period where there was no new show, but you had the game. You had this other stuff that was coming up that still had people interested in the content. So hopefully, people will follow that, where they'll relive, they'll watch the stuff they like, and just stop messing with people who entertain you. I think they deserve that, at least as someone that you like the content of, to not be screwed with for trying to do what you wanted them to do before they found out they couldn't for a variety of reasons. So I appreciate their stuff.